What's up, guys? Welcome back to another BR Talks episode. Today, I have a really special guest. I met him over in London, and we had a nice conversation about crypto. Please help me in welcoming Aasim Rashid. Aasim is a Web2 and Web3 content creator and media consultant who's worked with brands like Apogee, Suey, and Solana. And you can find him on X at InkIsAwesome3. That's InkIsAwesome3. What's up, Aasim? How are you doing today?
Not too bad. How are you?
Can't complain. It's been a crazy. I almost said week, but it's been a crazy 2 weeks for crypto. We all thought it was Uptober, but then the last 2 weeks ended up being Downtober. But yeah, we'll get into all that and more here in a sec. So before we get into too deep into everything, do you want to give everybody a little bit of background about you, how you originally got into crypto? Was it the tech, the money? A lot of people get into it for the money, the tech, or just the movement. How did you get yourself into this crypto space?
Thanks. So I got into crypto two different ways from two different perspectives. The first time I was introduced to crypto was in college, and we were just studying digital money. And this was probably like 2014, 2015. So I just learned what Bitcoin was, and it was really more of like a anarchist experiment for us. Um, I had friends just that would see like, oh, like, what can we buy with Bitcoin? Like, just as a joke.
Mhm.
And then fast forward to 2020, I had like somebody told me to buy Dogecoin, uh, and I bought it on Robinhood, not knowing what it was. A year later, somebody told me to buy it again, and I re-downloaded Robinhood, not realizing that I already bought it and had thousands of dollars in my wallet. And I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." So I think from there, at that time, a lot of my friends, we were already like trading options for fun. We had like a lot of trading groups. So then when I saw this Doge thing, I was like, oh, this is crazy. This is like the next big thing. So naturally, I had a friend that told me to buy a bunch of ETH coins at the top, and I lost all that money. And then I became a community member.
Yeah, that sounds like a very similar story to how a lot of people started up. I remember I started with Doges and didn't start, but Doge was one of the first ones that I started, and kind of opposite to you. I bought it, I made like a couple $100, and then I sold it, and I was like, all right, this crypto thing is great. And then like 2 months later, I'm like, oh, my couple $100 gain could have been a couple $1,000 gain. And I was fairly mad, but yeah, so this month has been crazy for crypto, especially Bitcoin. We saw an all-time high of I think it was over $126,000, just over $126,000, and then recently in the last few 2 weeks, we saw the October streak end, and it went all the way below $108,000. I think right now it's at 105 while at the time we're doing this interview, which is signaling some weakness in a expected bullish month. So how much of that breakdown do you attribute to macro risks like interest rates, geopolitics, the tariffs and everything that's happening, or crypto specific dynamics like liquidations and market sentiment?
Yeah, so I started doing a little research on this just to prepare, and I found that Bitcoin's break right now in the streak falling below 108K. It's actually the first October that was negative since about 2018,
Wow.
which I found really intriguing because I remember when Bitcoin was about like in the 20,000 range in 2018, and it was like a really like a ominous time just because it was round tripping a lot. And I think anybody that's kind of paying attention to macro news knows that there is like a lot of trade wars going on between U.S. and China when it comes to tariffs, interest rates concerns, and I mean, even domestically, we're experiencing a lot right now. When it comes to the way Bitcoin works, with people trading heavy on leverage, when liquidations happen, you can see coins swing, drastically or dramatically in one way or the other, and a lot of people are trading really heavily on leverage and perps right now. Um, we've seen so many people get liquidated. We just had one of the biggest mass liquidation events
Mhm.
this past month. So I think we're definitely going to see a downtrend going in to the new year, just because that's naturally kind of like what happens during like these periods. I don't think we're going to like hit like complete bear market vibes, but it's definitely going to be a downtrend for a while. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, right? I just think people just need to adjust to the way the market's moving. I remember back in like September, October, 2024, people were euphoric, right? Because Trump had just, he wasn't even in office yet. He just got announced that he was going to be in office. Like that was pretty
Hmm.
much the vibe, and people were just kind of like trading off of that sentiment, and everything was just going to new all highs. And what happens during these periods is people get so euphoric. It's like that meme where it's like, you know, Bitcoin is priced last year and everybody's happy, and then versus Bitcoin is priced this year and everybody's miserable. It's because you
Hmm.
get like that euphoric is so contagious that when the market goes back to normal, it's like almost like you're coming down.
Exactly. I know this. If it was at this price at this time last year, we'd all be excited because we're like, oh, we all made some big gains. And then obviously the election would have happened and it would have gone even higher. No, I mean, I always tell people, and I talked about this in our live stream last week with when we were talking about all the liquidations and everything is, for traders, it might be a little concerning. But I would say for the investor, for the crypto investor, so the long-term investor, I think you look at this as just okay for the rest of the year we might see a little bearish, it might be a little bearish, but it's just buying on discount. I say for the rest of the year we're having a Black Friday sale on crypto. But on that note, what are like one or two crypto underdogs that you think are just getting overlooked all this red in the end of October and beginning of November? What are two coins that you're looking at that aren't getting as much love as you think?
That's a great question. What coins am I looking at? So I kind of go back and forth these days. I kind of slowed down on a lot of the meme coin stuff that I've been doing, and I've been looking a lot more at perps and alts. So I'm always bullish on the alts game, but what I'm more bullish about is like the tech that they're building, right? Because
Hmm.
I think there's like two types of trading. At least for me, I look at everything in twos. Where it's like you can be either like really active on, just like the daily charts, like up or down motion, or you can kind of like double down on like what the technology these guys are actually building on the back end, because everybody's always just like, oh, alt season good, alt season bad, but they never actually take the time to look at like the ecosystems that are
Hmm.
being built behind these alts. That being said, like, I spent a lot of time working with the Aptos team this week. They had like a really cool, I'm sorry, well, last month. They had like a really Aptos had a really cool activation in New York City, and it was great to see what their ecosystem is doing. You got people building these like really intricate perps decks. I think I'm really bullish on folks that are building their perps decks right now because what it's allowing for traders to do is actually like become invested in these point systems, right? And what's cool about that is you're kind of getting these passive rewards just from trading really high volume. And I'm really bullish on projects that are doing things like that across the board because it's one of those situations where, as long as you're trading responsibly, um, you can actually get small, sizable gains fairly easily, like consistently as well. And then the point systems, keeps people coming back, and it also kind of creates that loyalty. Like, hey, we're a project that's actually going to like build and work with you in the long term, as opposed to these like mass liquidation events, and then the project disappearing or going insolvent.
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, I always look at, in trading, especially forex and stuff, we always look at fundamental and technical analysis. And I think in crypto, I think a lot of people are always looking at that technical analysis. What they're looking at the charts, what the charts are doing, and trying to predict it like in that sense. But one thing I like is like look at it like how Warren Buffett looks at stocks. You know what I mean? What project do you believe in? What project has real world utility? And what do you see people using? You know what I mean? We all know, Solana, for example, was going crazy during the NFTs because there's real world utility. People were using that. There's belief behind it, and that's when that was absolutely pumping. So I like those projects that really have you can believe in something more than just a chart. Which is really good. There was a. Did you hear about the real world tokenization? Was it Coinbase just bought a just purchased a company for like $200 million? I forgot the name of the company that they just purchased. I don't know if you know, but they just purchased a company that is essentially focusing on real world tokenization of real world assets. So like real estate, they're tokenizing. I think they're saying like concert tickets and stuff. So now it's like it's an NFT, and you can purchase all that with crypto. Same thing within like investing in real estate.
I think the I forgot the exact term. I don't know if it's like fractured or fragmented investing or micro investing.
Yep, fragment investing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Those models are very bullish. You know, I was actually talking to my mom about real estate all weekend. So yeah,
Hmm.
I'm very bullish on that. Also, I forgot to mention two other new metas. One, we all have seen the boom of prediction markets right now. I don't think the prediction market meta is going anywhere. Also, the new meta this week.
Depending on regulation.
Right. Well, yeah, that's
Because
what I
with that
was.
whole NBA thing that just happened with Chauncey and all that stuff and Rozier and stuff, I hear a lot of talk, especially with these one prediction markets and then two what do you call them, social casinos. I know there's a huge like multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Stake and Drake and I think Aiden Ross for pushing gambling and then obviously the prediction markets. They're talking about heavily regulating player props just because of that stuff.
Yeah,
So
no, fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, actually, that's a great insight. So pivoting really fast, X402's agentic finance has been one of the new metas that's been really popular this week. I was privileged to be able to sit at a panel and listen to some folks from Coinbase really break down how the tech works and do some live demos. And I think people have finally figured out how this agentic finance thing is going to work. People were able to like buy shirts with their agents, and
yeah.
I think what's
Can
cool.
you elaborate for anybody that doesn't know what that is? Can you just elaborate on agentic finance?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, in layman's terms, agentic finance is all about building AI agents that can basically like buy and sell tokens on your behalf.
Hmm.
And there's like mixed feelings because some people hear this and they're like, "Oh, why do I want robots managing my money?" But it's more about streamlining basic things that you either may not want to do or you just may want to automate. And I think well, it's funny because I remember when they first announced it, and we're at this talk, and I because it's like a really new concept, you know what I'm saying? And it was like overnight, everybody was talking about X402s. Well, I mean, like if you're in CT,
Yeah.
everybody was talking about X402s overnight, and I am bullish on some of the use cases, and I actually think it's going to be better for humans, much more better than people think, for the people that actually do it the right way.
Yeah. I mean, so that brings us perfectly into the next question here. What role do you think AI will play in the next crypto cycle from trading bots and decentralized AI tokens?
Yeah, this is a great question, because I think there's two sentiments. Once again, back to the twos. There's the sentiment that AI is going to destroy us all, so nobody should build it. And then there's the other sentiment that like AI is the future, whether we like it or not. So we should continue building so we have edge and that we can stay ahead of the trends.
Hmm.
And then when you go deeper into this rabbit hole, there's the whole like, okay, what AI products are actually innovative and which ones are just kind of like wrappers of like the big three, or
Yeah.
um,
Which most seem to be just wrappers of the big three or four.
right. And I also think that says more about who has access to the tech, and understanding of the tech, as opposed to, because I think like it's really easy to say like, okay, everybody's just building like an AI wrapper, but it's the VCs that are like encouraging it because they're just like, yeah, just build like AI because that's what's popular right now. And
Yeah,
then you
they
get.
already have the LLM over here. Why not just build on top of it and you just save kind of like what DeepSeek did? Is I heard they took a lot of the technology from OpenAI and then that's how they were just able to improve on that and just skyrocket their technology.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to experience AI fatigue, right? Because AI hallucinations are still a really big problem. I remember going to like once again being in the mecca of AI and SF 2022, everybody is like AI evangelicals and versus 2025 and going to like really like in depth like AI panels when you got like Berkeley and Stanford grads like debating like the discourse of like what LLMs work the right way. They're finally just acknowledging the fact that we need better fine tuning for our
Yeah.
LLMs, and there needs to be a solution to AI hallucination because it turns out that you can't automate everything, right? And
Oh yeah.
that's not necessarily a bad thing because why would we automate ourselves out of existence anyway? um, that being said, bringing it back home, I think what's the sweet spot is going to be is proper AI tooling. You know what I'm saying? Like using AI more as a tool when it comes to trading, when it comes to assisting us. It's but also I will say I think something that's been interesting for me is seeing how many projects were building with AI like earlier this year or earlier last cycle that kind of abandoned the AI projects that they were doing, and I think it's because there was not enough customization. Um, I know a lot of folks that are building in this space, and they don't want to bring the stuff that they're working on to public yet. They're still working on doing a lot of the fine tuning and making the product perfect, which is really intriguing to me
Yeah.
because I feel like like I said last cycle, people were just like in a rush to just get it out there.
So on that, with regulation, we'll go back to regulation. With regulation being a wild card, we're seeing, especially governments. One day a government's like, we're all for AI, we're doing, strict strategic crypto reserve or whatever, and then the next, they're cracking down on firms or people that are building technology. How do you see regulatory developments in the U.S. and globally shaping not just Bitcoin's path, but all altcoins and the broader DeFi landscape?
Yeah, so regulation is always an interesting topic. I think the reason why is because it makes you question where you want to position yourself in the food chain of app development and visibility within this industry. Because 9 times out of 10, the first people that get hit the most are the biggest projects. However, it's not necessarily the most profitable projects. It's more about who was visible within the media, in the industry. I think, for instance, what we've seen, what you're kind of lamenting to earlier with the prediction market scandals, I think that's like one of the biggest examples of what happens when regulation starts. First, a company goes down and they make examples of certain people in certain types of projects, and then you see the regulation happen from 6 months to 2 years after that. I remember during the Gary Gensler era, um, we would see a lot of NFT projects go down that probably would not go down right now. However, they weren't doing the same amount of volume that they were doing, in 2022 and 2023 that they are doing now. And that's kind of like what happens when regulation comes into play. Everybody right now is really talking about what happens when they start looking at the DeFi industry, um, and just in general, because when it comes to this whole technology, it's literally called decentralized, right? So what happens when centralized entities start interacting with decentralized? You kind of have to meet in the middle. So everybody who's been in this game for the long haul is wondering what's going to happen um, when regulation is the norm, because like it or not, a lot of really good projects benefit from this gray area right now, because unless we're able to create freely and fairly, it could get really strict really fast.
Yeah.
um, and I think that being said, it's just really important for the average builder to educate themselves on what's going on, because if you're at the top, you already know the game. You just lawyer up and just throw your lawyers as much money.
But not everybody can afford that, especially those smaller projects where it's 3, 4 developers in their garage building something, you know.
Literally, literally. So yeah, I would say this is a good time for like indie projects, indie devs, indie builders to really just educate themselves as much as possible.
So yeah, this has been a great interview. So to close things out, I want to give some hope and some inspiration to these people trying to get in. So, what advice would you give to new traders entering crypto right now, especially with the uncertainty, with the all the movement we're having and government regulation and everything that's happening? What's just a I'm a brand new trader. I've never traded crypto, and I want to buy my first whatever, maybe not even Bitcoin. What my first coin? What advice would you give me?
My first piece of advice would be to educate yourself and research, and don't just research. I'm sorry. Um, my first piece of advice would be to educate yourself and research, and don't just research one person or one perspective. Research the whole spectrum of ideas. Second would be to find some people. Uh, First, people around you that are already investing, and then second, some key opinion leaders that have like a track record and reputation for having good calls and spreading good information, and research them as well. Third would be to study charts, like like really look what it means to trade beyond the gambling trap, because the gambling trap is good, but it can turn you into a gambler. Um, and there comes a lot of ramifications with that. There's like two types of traders. Once again, there's the casual traders that they put their money in and they leave. And in those scenarios, you can set your stop loss, or you can be one of those traders that looks at the screen 19 hours a day. And if you have a life, it's not fun.
Mm-mm.
So figure out what kind of trader you want to be, and figure out what your strategy is going to be, because this is not like a one size fits all sport. It's actually like probably one of the coolest games of survival that will actually teach you more about yourself than a lot of other things. If you get good and if you
Yeah.
really immerse yourself into it, find projects like BullRush, what I'm saying, where you can get started and not have to throw all your money away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, a
Um,
lot of people come to us for that so they can practice before they put their money in. It's a great platform. Check us out at bullrush.com. No, that's great advice. And yeah, one thing I'll add to that is which I've fallen a trap for is there's no get rich quick, even in this space of crypto. So if there's somebody out there that's telling you, hey, join my Discord for $500 a month and you can follow all my signals, that's the worst way to go about it. I think following, even though you could make some money on signals, the best way is what Aasim said, is just learn it. Learn as much as you can for yourself and make your own educated picks and investments. Follow people that aren't trying to get you rich quick. Follow people that are trying to teach you. Like Aasim, follow him at Inc is awesome, but instead of an E, it's a 3. I'll tag it obviously right below here. So well, I've had a great time. I know it's a little early for you, so I'll let you get settled in on your Monday. Is there anything else you want to tell the people? Anything you want to plug for anybody watching here? Where can people find you? Anything that you want to let the people know to check out?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, first of all. Looking forward to working more with the Bull Rush team for sure. Yeah, I'm just really excited to do some more like creative and experimental stuff. So, anybody out there that's watching, feel free to reach out to me with any like ideas that you may have, or yeah, because like I said, we're entering new territory. So, it's time to get creative and see how we can make things happen.
It's been a great interview, and I'll see everyone next time.